can go.
Good luck.
Okay. All right. So I have three presentations. The first one in your packet, they're all there together in the packet. So this is the first, the choral operations for the vocal division. This is where we primarily get our operating budget for this division in the music department. The things that it funds for the vocal division choral ensembles are performance participation for our music majors and our non-majors. So this money helps support all the things that we do in the choral area. So that involves buying music and hiring staff and working on our planning our tours and things. So this lines out the purposes of what we do. So we have participation. There are kind of two things that the choral department does for our students on campus. The first one is to serve the music majors with an ensemble that they participate in as part of their degree requirements and part of their curriculum. The second is to serve the student body at large. Anyone, major or non-major, can participate in an ensemble. So it adds an extra kind of extracurricular activity that they can continue to participate if they sang in high school and want to, or sang in church choirs and want to continue. We do concerts on campus and at events on campus. We've sung the national anthem at basketball games. We participate in the university convocation when we have those events on campus. We also are a big recruiting force for our department. The choir and the band kind of serve as the face of each division in the department. So when the choir goes and performs off campus, we're recruiting. We have two opportunities that we do a recruiting tour throughout the year. In the fall, we do a small run-out tour. It's usually just one day. In the spring, we do a 3-day tour. We go to high schools and perform. And then when we're off campus, we've done concerts at the Mesquite Arts Center. We do concerts in churches around the Dallas Metroplex, and all of that is recruiting for the university and for our department. And as we go out and perform at these different events, we are kind of the ambassador of the university and the department. And then I said at the beginning that we support the curriculum needs of the music majors. So this is kind of, you got a detailed budget in the original proposal, but this is a kind of summary of how the money will be used. Daily operations, purchasing music, that goes between about $7,000 to $10,000 a year just to purchase the print music that we sing throughout the year. And then we hire student workers to set up the room, to work in the library, and we have some folks that work on social media for us also. And then it, as I said earlier, supports our recruiting activities. We do the two recruiting tours, and it also supports us being able to print materials that we use when we go out and on those recruiting tours that support the department. And then concert development, publicity, and printing of programs to support the concerts. So I was asked to say what would happen if the budget were cut or the budget wasn't funded. If it weren't funded at all, we would probably see the end of our area, at least in the music department. This is our primary source of funding to support our area. It would affect university recruiting. We have over 300 majors in the department that we serve through the music department. And then the student body would not have access to choral ensemble participation, those non-majors that participate in the choir, and the community would not have access to choral ensembles. I consider us out here in Commerce a little bit underserved in the arts, and I think the university helps provide that opportunity through visual art and theater and music to bring that to the rural East Texas community. Last year, you were able to fund us with a $6,000 cut, and that did substantially affect the kinds of things that we were able to do. The department had to kind of scurry around and figure out how to come up with that downfall, and we've been able to make it this year. But it was difficult. So that's that presentation. Anybody have any questions on that one? I'm not quite sure how I answer.
How many times do you guys perform last year?
That's a good question. We do about 6 formal concerts on campus, and then when you start counting all the extra things, I just lose track. But we're off campus quite often doing concerts around the Metroplex and on campus at greater than the music program.
What's the student count on off-campus concerts? Like you do at DFW, you say you do at Mesquite. Like, do TMUC students attending that, or is it just for the community over there?
There are some TMU students that do our off-campus performances, but they're really mainly geared to get people that are not on campus to come and witness what it is that we're doing. Last year the chamber singers did a concert at the Mesquite Arts Center, and then the chorale did a concert at the Cathedral downtown in the Arts District, and those were really designed to try to get students from those Metroplex schools and people that live in that area to come see us. It's hard to get people to come out here to come to our concerts. I'm the choir director at a church in Greenville. I can't get my choir members to come see our concerts this way. They'll go to Dallas, but they don't want to come further east. Yes, ma'am.
With it being such high stakes, if your budget got cut, do you guys have a backup plan?
The backup plan is to find the money through other sources that support the department, and that would mean that other things would have to be cut in the department. Just be looking at how we're going to use budget money in the department.
For your performances, do you charge?
No. We've tried to not charge. We charge for later in the presentation for the musicals and for the operas, but we've tried to not charge for just our normal concerts. The one concert the department charges for each year is the Holiday Gala. We do that 2 days right before finals, and we charge, I think, $15 a person for that. Then that money then supports other programs. Like this year, the department did a concert at the Moody Performing Arts Center in the Arts District in Dallas. That cost us about $20,000, and the money that we make on that gala performance supports performances like that. We've done performance in the Meyerson, we've done performance in Carnegie Hall. That money has gone to that budget. Yes, ma'am.
So you're saying that whenever you guys go out and are performing, that you're using this as a recruitment opportunity. Do you guys have numbers for how many people you bring in?
Statistics. I don't have good hard statistics, but it's those kinds of opportunities where you make that connection with students and parents. And I think if we didn't do that, we would see our audition numbers fall. When I came here 10 years ago, the department was really small, and I immediately started just taking the choir out. And now our auditions are where they want to be, and the quality is where we would like it to be. It's just kind of standard operating procedure to get students, but I don't have any hard numbers to show you data.
Have you guys ever thought about charging, like not on campus events, but like especially if you do it out in like Moody? I mean, people will come and see that.
We do charge at the Moody.
Okay.
I didn't say that.
Okay.
Yes, because that's such a big expense.
Right.
When we did the Meyerson, the Moody, and Carnegie Hall, we do charge at those.
So all the events in Dallas are generally charged?
Not all of them. Those are big events. But like when we sang at the Cathedral or when we sang in Mesquite, we didn't charge because those events we're really hitting to recruit, and so we just want to keep that easier for people to come to those events. The Moody becomes more of an alumni connection. We try to get our alumni there and generate their interest in what we're doing. Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
Follow up on what you just said, because I was going to ask that question. Has the music department been successful when you go out? It seems like you go out quite a bit. And it almost reminds me a little bit, I went to Tuskegee University and how the Tuskegee Choir would go out and sing and get donors. And so have you been successful at getting donors?
That's not my specific area. Our department chair usually goes
Right.
through them. So I don't know. I don't know that we have specifically recruited people as donors through those events. But,
Okay.
other people might be able to speak to that a little
Okay.
better than me.
Can you talk to us a little bit about, so you're requesting 44,000, you received 24,000 last year. Can you talk a little about what primarily makes up that difference, and was the difference made up this year, or is that just an increase in something that you want to do next year that you didn't do this year?
We had been getting around 30, and we got 24. So this year we made up that $6,000 difference through department funds, and 30 is kind of the bare minimum to get us everything that we usually do, be able to do. Getting the raise in the budget request is just because of the increase in students, and so we have to buy more music. It takes more buses to get kids to different places, and So if we would use that because of that increase in students.
For what it's worth, I take students to New York every year for a class. I took my students by the Apollo, Night of the Apollo, and you see names like Jay-Z and Beyonce and George Brooks and some of those other folks. And I took them by Carnegie Hall, and they saw the popular names of tenor brothers and so forth. And I said to the students, you do know that A&M Commerce also performed there. It was a jaw-dropping experience for them to know that A&M Commerce has been in the premier musical facility of the world, Carnegie Hall. It says a lot.
And you know, when we did, that's been, gosh, 6 years ago maybe. And one, it was when it was fun to watch the students' face when they walked out on that stage. I got to see that, you know, they're standing in the same place that these greats have stood. But we had a great group of alumni that came on that concert and faculty that came to New York, and then we simulcast that concert. It was a real neat experience. That kind of event is like a $200,000 kind of excursion. That's a pretty big financial commitment. We haven't done that one in a little while. We're talking about when that next event would be. Okay? More questions on that? All right. So I'm going to close that. So this is the music theater proposal. This is one of the pictures we use on our recruiting material. This young man is the assistant choir director at Rockwall High School right now, and just went to, I don't know if you're familiar with what choirs and band do, but in the spring they go to a UIL contest, and his choirs that he conducted got straight ones. The contest got a sweepstakes. We're really proud of him. This young man is at NYU doing a Master's in Musical Theater right now and performing and living the life. He's doing a great job. Some of these students are still singing. This young man is teaching middle school in West Texas. He's from Carrollton, and his first job is out in West Texas, so he's really doing a good job too. So it's fun to see our students after they graduate and their successes. This is a scene from an opera that we did a couple years ago. Oh, okay. Again, so this is the summary of the request. So one of the things that we do in the vocal division is a main stage production each year, and if any of you have been involved in theater, you know that that's a very expensive project. We initiated that, I guess, 5 or 6 years ago. We got that back. We had not been doing that for a long time, and so now we've got about 5 or 6 years of history of that again. We do a musical one year and then an opera the next. And one of the goals is to serve our student body and their curriculum needs. Any of our students that are majoring in vocal performance must have this main stage kind of experience. One, to be a performer on stage, but two, to also be able to serve on a crew and learn how costumes work, and learn how set work, and learn how stage directing works, and learn how lighting works, all those kinds of things. Make them much more marketable later in their career. But also our music education students. When they go out and become a choir director at a high school or middle school, they're going to be expected to participate and be a part of some kind of musical performance throughout the year. And so this experience for them is very valuable. The other thing is our instrumentalists. Then we hire them. We pay them a small amount of money, a little less than what they get to pay in the pep play and the pep band for the basketball games. And that's another real valuable experience for our instrumentalists, to be able to play in a pit orchestra and understand how that works. An opera score is a little different than a musical score, and so they get those kinds of experiences that will then lead to professional jobs later in life for them. You know, many of our instrumental faculty play in the pit for the Dallas Opera. They're in the Dallas Opera Orchestra. And then just, again, providing us access to these kinds of performances out here in rural East Texas for our community and our students to have the ability to see these productions. 2 years ago, we hosted a competition on campus called National Association of Teachers of Singing, which was Texas and Oklahoma region. And part of hosting that is to put on an opera for that event. And so we put on a very old opera by Handel called Xerxes. And that production highlighted a countertenor, which is a man who sings in a woman's range. And so back in the day, they would have castrated young men so their voices didn't change, and they were kind of rock stars at that time period. And so this part was written for a castrati tenor. But nowadays, some men have a highly developed falsetto voice, and we had a young man that's a countertenor that does that. And so we did this opera to feature him in that role. I tell people that the opera was a little bit funny because we had a guy that sang like a girl playing a guy, and then in the opera there was another, what we call a pants role, that would have been sung by castrati, but we didn't have another countertenor. So those roles are sometimes sung by women. So we had a woman playing a man, and then in the opera there's a woman who plays a man who is a woman. And so it was a very kind of gender confused show. Yeah. But what's interesting about that show, our director, Jennifer Glidden, submitted that in the National Opera Association Awards competition. And for our division, which is based on the budget and the size of the school and number of cast members and things, we won second place in our division in a national competition for opera. So we're very proud of that. This year was our musical year, so we did a musical that's been off-Broadway called I Love You, You're Perfect, Now Change. And it's basically about relationships from the first date until you're looking at passing away toward the end of your life. It was a great production. And we're already looking at shows for next year. There's an opera written by a pretty famous band composer for singers and wind ensemble that's about the Holocaust, and we're looking at doing that opera next year. So this is also pictures of a Commedia dell'arte show that we did a couple of years ago. So that's why their makeup is so exaggerated. Okay. So the budget, you've got a detailed budget in the proposal, but it basically supports the orchestra. Because we don't have a string program on campus, we have to hire professional string players. I conduct the pit orchestra, and we have, because our budget is so tight, we have one rehearsal with our hired players, and then we do the show. I tell our students that are participating in the orchestra, the Dallas Opera would never do that. They have weeks of rehearsal to prepare the orchestra. I have one rehearsal to get them ready, and then we go into the production. And that's kind of, so we hire professional players and student players. We have a staff accompanist, usually a choreographer is hired, then building the set. There are royalties and rental for things, and then the costume and set. This is a picture of the magic flute that we did several years ago. The young lady with her hands out is teaching at West Mesquite Choir, and the girl laying down on the bed is now teaching at Berkner High School, and they've both been very successful this year also. And then, if it's cut, this budget was also cut $6,000 this past year, and we were able to make those funds up from the department funding, and so there were other things that didn't get funded in the department because of the use of that money in this way. But if it were cut completely, it would hurt our curriculum because, as I said, the performance majors need this experience, the music education majors need this experience, and it would limit the access to this kind of art out here in rural East Texas. Okay, I think that's all on this one. And I guess I'll address we've asked for more money. Usually we were getting, I don't remember what we got last year, does it say?
18.
Okay, yeah, we were getting closer to 24, and we were cut about $6,000. I think I've asked for a little bit more than that, and it's mainly because it's a very expensive adventure. Hiring the professional players is very expensive, and building the set is very expensive. And we usually, because we don't have in the music department a costume area, we usually rent the costumes, which again is just expensive. Art is expensive. All right, questions?
Do you charge admission for those?
We do charge admission for this, and that does help support the budget.
Does that include students?
Yes, there's a discounted ticket for students, and I don't remember exactly what it is, but yes, there's a student price and an adult price.
Do you guys have a lot of students that come out to these events?
You know, it depends. I wouldn't say a lot, but I think we do have students that do come to it. And the girls we hired to do social media have done some interesting things in the student center, trying to get students to be just aware that this is going on campus. I think one year, just to get them to follow us on our Facebook page, they gave them cookies or something. So if they took a cookie, they would follow us on Facebook to kind of see what's going on.
So would you say then that, like, our majority of your audience is people from the community then?
I think the majority is, yeah. I like our new webpage at the front, those big videos. Okay, and the last one is the special project. Yeah. So this is, I put the two requests together. So we're requesting money to be able to hire a professional choir to come, or a professional a cappella group to come on campus. We've been given money in the past 2 different times. We've had the Swingle Singers and the Real Group comes. The Swingle Singers are on the left and the Real Group are on the right. The Swingle Singers are an English group, and they both sing all kinds of a cappella music, from contemporary to classical, and the Real Group is from Sweden, and same thing. It's funny, the guy in the Swingle Singers, this is the bass here. They stayed in the Mangasson Inn when they got here, and they didn't have a car. I picked them up at airport and got them there, and they did their thing, and then I was going to pick them up in the morning. He went out exploring in Commerce and found the Drunken Mule, and went dancing with some of our friends in Commerce, and now he's still Facebook friends with a bunch of these girls who have been dancing. I'll see somebody out at Walmart or something, and they say, "Oh yeah, you brought the Real Group in." I'm still friends with, what's his name?
Was that during his state of inebriation?
I don't know. And then the other request, last year we were given money to perform at TMEA. TMEA is a juried experience where a group of our colleagues listen to recordings and they select groups to perform. Our band has had the opportunity to perform a couple times in the past, and the choir was given the opportunity this year. It's very competitive for us to be able to win one of those spots at these conventions. In Texas, they allow some years 1 college choir and some years 2 college choirs. This year there were 2 college choirs selected. That's probably the biggest recruiting thing that we can do as a department, is because we're singing for most of the middle school and high school choir directors out there, and a lot of them, for one, our name recognition. A lot of them remember us as East Texas State and haven't quite transitioned. Even though we've been A&M Commerce for so long, they haven't quite figured out what A&M Commerce is. And 2, the students that have made some of the all-state organizations are there at the convention, and some of them come to this concert. We performed for a ballroom that held probably 3,000 people, and we probably had 2,000 people in the ballroom. We performed an hour-long concert, and great reception afterwards. I think our recruitment then will really hit from that next year. So we appreciate the funding. That trip cost us about $27,000. I think we were given about $9 to go to help from this fund. I'm submitting for us to sing at an ACDA convention this year, which is the American Choral Directors Association. It would be the Southwest Conference that serves Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Missouri, Colorado, New Mexico, and Kansas. The conference is in Little Rock, Arkansas next year. And the benefit is the recruiting. This would be more of a regional recruiting, getting our name out regionally as opposed to just the state. But it's also benefits our students who get to perform at this convention. One, to be able to work on music to get it to that level that's going to be listened to at that level of scrutiny. And 2, then to be able to go to this conference and participate in the conference as a performer and as an attendee. I don't know if this little link is going to work, but since it's not my computer, I'm going to try. Let's see. Is there sound hooked up to this? Okay, well, it doesn't matter. I was going to tell you, the concert this year, the concert was called Words, and we began, the first section of the concert was the Word of God becoming flesh, and so we opened with a very contemporary piece, setting of In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God, going straight into a piece, a Renaissance piece of that same text, so we contrasted that text. And so then the beginning of the whole first half of that concert was of that part of words. And then we moved into a section about words and how we use words in life and words about life experiences. And there were a set of French pieces that all dealt with that text. Yes, sir?
I think it's playing.
Oh, it is?
I can just barely hear it.
Barely hear it, yeah.
Oh, yeah, it is.
I think just turn up just a little. It's real.
It's not that important. What I was going to get to is then that moved into how words fail us. And we sang, I arranged the song Words Fail from Dearvin Hansen with one of our young tenors, and the choir sang that. And then that piece ends with, how do I step into the sun? How am I going to live my life after this has failed me? And so then I arranged a gospel piece called Step into the Sun, using text from John. So we began with the text from John and ended the text of John. I think it turned out really well. I think the concert was a big hit. And I'm hoping that we get the opportunity to sing at the Southwest ACDA conference in the spring. All right, so that's the special request. This outlines what the cost, some of the costs would be.
You're asking for 15,000 toward the 30,000.
That's right. So yeah, I was.
So the music department's going to fund the rest of it.
Yes. And what happened this year? Getting an opportunity like this is kind of like our playoff game for the football team. And so we got 9,000 from you all, and the provost gave us another 10,000. The college gave us 1,000. The department. So we made up the funds that way. And in my operations budget, instead of taking that spring tour that I spent about $12,000 on, I used that money toward this trip also. So that's how we wrote. I think it cost us $27,000 this year to do that trip. Good question, sir.
If you could just make sure Stacy has a copy of your presentations.
Okay.
We have a shared drive that we.
Oh, okay. So I'll just email you the
Just email me,
film.
yeah.
Okay.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate the time.